So the IRS has come out and made a pretty major announcement using some fairly strong language, things like sweeping changes, using artificial intelligence to target, as they indicate, those that are the high income, wealthy segment of taxpayers. What would be the areas in which I believe the IRS will be using AI to determine who they should audit? Because I think they're going to be approaching it much more with the scalpel versus a net.
JJ the CPA is here.
JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. So the areas that I believe the IRS will focus in on outside of the obvious which is criminals that are not reporting income, those that are hiding income in foreign bank accounts or hiding income through cryptocurrency. There's nothing wrong with cryptocurrency. Take note, what did I say? Hiding income through cryptocurrency. Outside of that, really what it comes down to for you and me, that we don't have foreign bank accounts. We're not hiding income. We're not criminals. So for those that they're targeting, the IRS has indicated to be the high income and the wealthy segment of taxpayers. I think they're going to be looking at the finite details, which quite frankly will be fairly easy, straightforward audits because you'll either have done it or you haven't. And I think those areas tune into, are your investments being reported properly on your individual return, classified as either non-passive or passive? And the reasoning for that is that passive is treated differently than non-passive in that passive is subject to net investment income tax. Now, if passive activities have a loss, well, then those losses are only deductible to the extent of passive income. So that's why they would be interested in whether or not this has been reported correctly. And if it has, they're going to move along. The next thing that I think they'll focus in on is for those that are taking losses or distributions from their partnership or S Corp, that they had basis to do it. Now, don't hear me as if you're taking distributions or you have losses, that means you're getting audited. What I want you to hear is that if you have taken distributions or you have experienced losses, what the IRS would be ensuring is, did you have tax basis to actually realize the loss? Did you have tax basis to actually get that distribution from an S Corp or a partnership without it incurring additional tax? Because if you don't have tax basis, well, then it's pretty simple. You don't get the loss if that exists, and any distributions in excess of tax basis, well, they're going to be taxable. Pretty straightforward. Do you have tax basis or not? The third area that I think the IRS is going to focus in on is really a two-prong, but it's related to compensation issues. The first prong of that is, are you classifying those that are working for you properly as employees? And if not, then the IRS is going to be interested in getting those workers then classified as employees, because it then picks up properly Social Security and Medicare taxes, both with the employee and the employer, otherwise known as payroll taxes. The second prong to that is reasonable compensation to S Corp owners. So with that, I've got some other videos where I address those very specific issues, so I'm going to give you links to that at the end. So does it mean that the IRS isn't going to look at other things? I don't think that's the case, but when AI comes into play, it is then tracking these things from year to year, tracking the basis as reported on a Schedule K-1 down to the individual return, tracking the basis on Form 7203 for S Corps. So with that, if you have allocated properly your income and your losses to passive and non-passive, if you are ensuring that you have proper tax basis and you're paying your employees that are actually employees as W-2 wages, and you're paying yourself a reasonable salary, well, you're probably, if I'm going to use some dramatic words, you're probably moving out of the crosshairs of the IRS. Now, I don't think the IRS at all has crosshairs out for anybody. Now, with that, yes, The IRS has put together a strategic plan on how they want to go about that. So I've given you a link to that in the body of this video. You can check it out. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. You have a great one.